Chicago looks calm on the surface, yet beneath it lie secrets no one wants uncovered. Among daily crowds, terrifying stories disappear without any ordinary person noticing them. This is not fiction, but testimony from someone who entered a library seeking knowledge. He left carrying a curse from a book that should never be opened. A book with no clear title, no author, and no logical explanation. Everyone who read it changed, and some never returned at all. What you hear now is a full confession from a man who failed. A man who never read the book, yet paid the price. This story is not only about a library, but deadly curiosity. The real question is not what's inside, but will you resist knowing? Chicago is a massive city, beautiful yet lonely, where seeing the same face twice is rare. I was working on a university project, or rather an investigation requiring extensive research in libraries. I study modern American anthropology at DePaul University, trying to define the typical American citizen. My professors asked me to begin months early, as if they anticipated unexpected difficulty. I first relied on the university library, but its resources proved insufficient for my research. So I decided to move my studies to the city's oldest and largest public library. Around mid-November, I packed my laptop and notes, traveling by train across the city. I arrived at the library at 10 in the morning, greeted by noisy elementary school students. Smiling politely, I navigated through them and climbed the main staircase inside. After checking the computer, I found my books were on the 9th floor, West Wing. I climbed floor after floor, joking that this paper would at least improve my fitness. Eventually I arrived, pulled several reference books, and worked in deep focus for hours. Time passed quickly, and I noticed nothing around me until hunger struck mid-afternoon. When I looked up, I suddenly realized I was no longer alone. A young woman, maybe 18 or 19, was browsing shelves across the room. I never heard her footsteps, as if she had appeared silently from nowhere. I ignored her presence and began packing my belongings to leave. I noticed she sat at a nearby table with a strange-looking book. It was not a normal book, but a thin notebook with a dark blue cover. It looked like a simple lined notebook, not something professionally published. She read it with intense focus, as if the world around her vanished. I noticed black writing on the cover, but couldn't clearly read it. While distracted, the notebook slipped from her hands and fell softly to the floor. Suddenly, she froze, staring at the opposite wall with a completely empty expression. I looked where she stared, but saw nothing except silent bookshelves. Her eyes were open, unblinking, lifeless, as though she was no longer present. I realized she had read something deeply disturbing and incomprehensible. She slowly stood up without speaking and walked toward the stairs. That night, I couldn't sleep. Her empty stare haunted me relentlessly. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that lifeless expression burned into my mind. Her death wasn't the most terrifying part, but what happened moments before it. I became convinced the book was responsible, despite my attempts to deny it. The next morning, I returned to the library driven by horrifying curiosity. The building was closed for days due to investigations following the accident. I waited impatiently, replaying every detail repeatedly in my head. When the library reopened, I went straight to the 9th floor. I searched every shelf and table for the dark blue notebook. It was gone, as if it had vanished without a trace. I questioned librarians, but none had seen anything like it. I spoke with janitors, and none remembered cleaning such a notebook. Even the police said they had confiscated no such item. The case was officially closed, ruled a tragic accident. I tried convincing myself it was nothing more than coincidence. Maybe she was mentally unstable or simply distracted. Yet none of those explanations justified her frozen stare. They didn't explain how the book disappeared unseen, nor why I felt it was waiting for another reader. I returned to work, assigned a private research office on the 5th floor. The office was quiet, spacious, and perfect for focused research. Weeks passed, and the incident slowly faded from my thoughts. One day, I looked up from my work across the library. I saw a teenage boy, maybe 16, sitting and reading a book. Instantly, I knew it was the same blue notebook. My heart sank as if time had reversed itself. He read with intense focus, even deeper than the girl before. I watched him, desperately hoping I was mistaken. Then he suddenly bent down and picked the book up. At that moment, I knew the nightmare had returned. He dropped the book and looked directly at me. His gaze was not normal, it was knowing and terrifying. I slowly stood up, never breaking eye contact. He stood as well, his eyes locked onto mine. I left my office and walked toward him across the room. I asked him shakily what was written in the book. His face twisted as he slowly stepped backward. I shouted again, demanding to know what he read. He trembled, clenching his teeth, as if resisting something inside. I passed the table where the book lay abandoned. I reached for it, trying to stop another tragedy. Suddenly, the boy turned and ran at full speed. He ran as if hell itself were chasing him. Within seconds, he reached a large window at the far wall. He didn't stop, didn't hesitate, he jumped. Glass shattered as his body disappeared outside. I screamed and ran toward the broken window. I saw him lying twisted in the parking lot below. He was moving and bleeding, but I knew his life was ending. When I returned to the table, the book was gone again. After the second incident, the library felt heavy, as if the air itself was watching. The hall was completely closed, police filling every floor without explanation. This time, they couldn't ignore it. 2 identical deaths weren't coincidence. I was summoned for questioning as the last person who spoke to the boy. I sat in a cold white room facing an expressionless officer. He asked about the book, its color, its contents, my obsession with it. I tried explaining everything, but the words sounded ridiculous even to me. How do you explain a book that disappears and convinces readers to die? The officer took notes, then requested a psychiatrist. The doctor was unnervingly calm, as if he already knew the story. He asked about my childhood, my fears, my sleepless nights. Then he asked the question that froze my blood. Had I read the book? I denied it instantly, but my voice betrayed me. The officer and doctor exchanged a knowing glance. The doctor suggested trauma could create repeating hallucinations. He claimed my mind invented the book to justify guilt. I almost believed them until what happened next. As I left the building, an ambulance stood outside. Paramedics were carrying out a body under a white sheet. I heard someone whisper, "Third student, same method." The ground felt unstable, reality cracking beneath me. I wasn't present this time, I hadn't seen the book. Yet everything happened with terrifying precision. I returned home shaking, unable to think clearly. At midnight, I heard soft knocking on my apartment door. I opened cautiously, finding the hallway empty. On the floor lay a dark blue notebook. Same cover, same scratches, same ancient smell. I slammed the door shut, struggling to breathe. I placed the notebook on the table, backing away like it was alive. I watched it for hours, perfectly still. Near dawn, faint whispers filled the room. They weren't words, but an urge to read. I resisted, but curiosity overpowered fear. Finally, I reached out and opened the first page. There were no paragraphs, only a single sentence in black ink. At last, you are the right reader. A cold smile formed on my face without permission. I realized then I was never just a witness. I was the final chapter the book awaited. I looked at the window, now open though I had closed it. Cold air rushed in, carrying the same whispers. I stepped forward, my heart beating with unnatural calm. Fear was gone, replaced by strange comfort. Behind me, the pages closed by themselves. I knew the story was finally complete. By morning, the notebook would appear somewhere else, waiting for another reader, another stare. Because some books are not read, they choose who reads them.